In the last module, we have understood what is the difference between the word minerals and ores, whereas in this module, let us see how do we define them. So beginning with the word minerals. So how do we define the word mineral? Please remember, minerals are the naturally occurring substance which are found on the earth's crust and which are obtained by mining, in which the metal can either be in the free state or in the combined state. If that is mineral, then what is ore? Please remember, ore is also a mineral, but which contains a higher percentage of the metal and from which the metal can be profitably or cheaply or economically be extracted. Hence, we all need to remember a very famous statement that we say that all ores are minerals, but all minerals are not ores. Now, if you want to remember this famous statement, one of the simple way to put it is this way. You have to draw a bigger circle and draw mineral in that, and then draw a smaller circle and write ore in that. It's very obvious that the small circle can fit into the big one, hence we say that all ores are minerals, whereas the bigger one cannot fit into the smaller one, hence all minerals are not ores. Now, since we know what is the definition between minerals and ores, now it is time for us to see the minerals and ores of some of the important metals, and the most important metal that we need to begin with is iron. Now, iron in nature can exist in several forms. For example, it can exist in nature in the form of a hematite, which is the oxide form of iron, whereas it can also exist in nature in the form of a magnetite, which is again an oxide form, whereas magnetite is Fe3O4 but hematite is Fe2O3. It can in the form of a hematite, it can be in the form of a magnetite, it can also exist in nature in the form of a limonite, which is having the molecular formula like this, and it can also exist in the nature in the form of an iron pyrite. Whenever there is the word pyrite, there is definitely sulfur, so FeS2 is iron pyrite. And finally, it can also exist in nature in the form of a siderite, which is the carbonate form of iron. So all these we call it as the minerals of iron, but the iron from which the iron can be profitably and cheaply be extracted, only that mineral we call it as an ore. So in this case, the ore of iron is hematite. Now going to the second important metal, which is zinc. Whereas zinc in nature can exist in the form of a zinc blende, which is a sulfide form of zinc. It can be also in the form of a zincite, which is the oxide form of zinc. It can also be in the form of a calamine, which is the carbonate form of zinc. Well, all these are minerals of zinc, but the ore of zinc is zinc blende, that is zinc sulfide. Going to another important metal, which is copper. Now copper can be in the form of a copper pyrite. Now please remember, copper pyrite has copper, sulfur as well as iron, whereas it can also exist in the form of a malachite, which is the carbonate form of copper. Then comes cuprite, and the last one is copper glance, which is Cu2S. Out of all these things, the ore of copper is copper pyrite. And go to the next one, which is aluminium. Aluminium can exist in the form of a bauxite, which is an oxide form. It can also be in the form of a cryolite, which is having a molecular formula Na3Alf6. Next, it can be in the form of a china clay. And all these are minerals, but the ore is bauxite. And the last important metal that we need to cover is magnesium. The magnesium can be in the form of magnesite, which is MgCO3. It can also be in the form of a dolomite, which is MgCO3 and CaCO3. And the last one is the Epsom salt, which is the magnesium sulfate. All these are minerals, but the ore of magnesium from which it can be obtained cheaply and economically, it's from dolomite. Hence we call dolomite is an ore of magnesium.